what's going on, guys? This is episode 38 of Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo, and this is Elvis Arroyo, and this week we are speaking Survivor Series, we are speaking Raw, also going to give you guys what to watch, and MVPs and floppers of the week, so stick around for that. But before we get started, guys, be sure to head on over to our YouTube page and hit subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle. Alright, guys, and let's get on with the show. Survivor Series 2019 is in the books, and what a show it was. Very enjoyable for me, it was. I enjoyed this year's Survivor Series. Had some hit and misses there. We'll get into all that. But let's get going with the first match into the show, the women's elimination match, tag team. 3 teams, and the women of NXT pick up the win in the first match on Survivor Series. Rhea Ripley, the biggest star, MVP out of this whole weekend. She had a great match at TakeOver inside the War Games. Of course, we will cover War Games on episode 39 this week. But this was a really NXT heavy show, NXT dominated show. WWE really went out of their way to make sure that the NXT superstars really felt important in this, and I really felt that they had to come out feeling more important, more stronger than in the few weeks leading into this. So NXT looking dominant here, definitely not the third wheel brand trying to gain anything off of SmackDown and Raw viewerships. They are now equals as all 3 shows, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. NXT can definitely be put in that upper echelon of WWE programming. And like I said, this was a very dominant night for NXT superstars. Roderick Strong picked up the win against AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura in what was a very great competitive match. I really feel like this match was had a lot of expectations, a lot of anticipation going into this from a lot of people on social media, and the crowd was very much into this match. Again, picking up the victory here. So again, NXT and Undisputed Era picking up a victory here. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly picked up the victory in the tag team on the kickoff show for their match. Also, we had Daniel Bryan go up against The Fiend for the Universal Championship match. And again, guys, they went again with the red lighting on this like we saw in the previous matches with Seth Rollins and The Fiend. I don't know if this really works or adds to it, maybe takes away to it. It seems like the fans were very quiet. I think a lot of the fans, even at home on social media, were reacting to it, that they didn't like it, that they put the lights back on. But I think as the match dragged along, and it really works for the Fiend character. But again, one thing for me that's maybe not working as much as now that we get to see the Fiend have a full match is he's a great character. Aesthetics and the theatrics of Bray Wyatt, the Fiend coming down is great, but when the bell rings and now there's a wrestling match, you quickly are reminded that it's a guy in a mask having a wrestling match. I think the Fiend can be portrayed much stronger than he is. I think a little bit more mysterious, but nonetheless, I think what they're doing with him right now, keeping him very dominant and strong, picking up the victory here over Daniel Bryan. And again, what's got to be Bray Wyatt's best match as the Fiend so far. Good stuff there. And Daniel Bryan, great performance from him again. Just a tremendous performer, Daniel Bryan, all around. Definitely not over between those two. I can definitely see this going over into TLC. 15-man tag team action, 5-on-5-on-5. SmackDown team, Raw team, and NXT team. Men's, this was definitely got to be one of the most highlighted match of the evening. 15 guys, 15 superstars going into this, all top stars, all guys that can be main event guys for the company. Good stuff from everybody here. Very interesting matchups here. There were times where you were seeing matchups like Matt Riddle going in there with Shorty G. You had Walter and Braun Strowman have a few face-offs. And you had Keith Lee and Roman Reigns who came down to the final 2. And what's got to be one of the most breakout moments for any NXT superstar this past weekend, it's got to be Keith Lee. And the moment that he had in there with Roman Reigns kind of reminded me of the moment Roman Reigns had with Batista a couple years ago in the Royal Rumble. I think it was 2014. And you had that one moment where here you see a guy who's brand new, but he's going in there with a guy who's established, and you kind of are pulling for the new guy because you know it would be a big moment and it would be believable. And trust me, the blows and the hits that these guys were giving to each other, Roman Reigns and Keith Lee, that is, were amazing. I can definitely see these two guys having a pay-per-view match just like that. I can see them having a program down the line. Sign me up. Keith Lee, his size and his athleticism, what he's able to do in the ring, top notch. Definitely, it's going to give him a lot of praise in the back. I'm sure Vince has got to be thinking, we got to do something about this guy, get him out of NXT, get him on the main roster, and get him working with Roman Reigns, because that was some good stuff there. Shining moment for Keith Lee, but Roman Reigns picks up the win like I predicted last week. That Team SmackDown, it's going to be a great night for Roman Reigns to shine on top of all three brands, and this was his moment. And kudos to him too. I mean, Roman Reigns right now is really stepped into this position where he's no longer trying to prove himself to the fans or to anybody, or he's trying to get to that top of the mountain. He's been there. He's done that. He doesn't need to be at the top of the mountain. He certainly isn't right now in any titles picture. And he's right where he needs to be. He's right where I always thought Roman needed to be. I know a year ago when they were really pushing him hard to get to Brock Lesnar and get that title, it really seemed like, they're really going with still trying to get Roman over. And the fans obviously rejected that. We can see through that. And he never really got over with the fans. And the part is that Roman is a great character. He's a great guy in the locker room, on TV, and from everything you hear about him in person. He is a good role player. To be the face of the company, I don't think so. I think that's still debatable, and I think it's still out there. The jury's still out there for who is the face of the company. Roman Reigns does not need to be the champion. He doesn't need to be the face of the company. He's a great utility guy. He's a great locker room leader, and that's what he showed in this moment with Keith Lee on Sunday at Survivor Series. So good stuff there from both of those guys. And also triple threat for the Women's Championship. Shayna Baszler, NXT Women's Champion. Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion. And Becky Lynch, the Raw Women's Champion, in a triple threat match. This is actually the main event of the match, but I want to talk about it now because it really wasn't main event quality, though it did get the nod and close out the show. But the life of the show was really sucked out in the next match that I will talk about. But before we get into that, this match right here, I really thought that these women were going to go out there and have a great match, and really disappointed by the performance of Becky Lynch. I got to say, Becky had a bad night. Shayna did the best she could, all banged up from a War Games matchup the night before. And Bayley, I feel like Bayley really took this match and carried it. So kudos to Bayley for really sticking in there and taking the pin, the submission here from Shayna Baszler, and on to the match that really stole the night, really stole the show. It went on prior to this one, but I want to close out talking about this, and that is the WWE Championship with Rey Mysterio challenging Brock Lesnar inside Allstate Arena, the same place where Rey Mysterio won the World Heavyweight Championship for the first time. About maybe 13 years ago. But here we are, WWE Championship, Brock Lesnar. And, man, this was a great match, and I knew this was going to be a great match. It wasn't a Rey Mysterio Classic match. It wasn't a wrestling clinic. It wasn't a highlight match. It was definitely a brawl and a lead pipe from Rey Mysterio grabbing that lead pipe underneath the ring here. Dominic got involved. No surprise. Definitely knew with the no holds barred and no DQ stipulation added to this match that Dominic was going to be getting involved in here. And man, I gotta say, there was some close moments in here with Rey swinging that pipe, hitting Brock, and then Dominic swinging a chair and hitting him, and then Rey Mysterio and Dominic both hitting frog splashes off the top ropes onto Brock Lesnar. Man, you really had a moment there where the whole audience counted in unison, close to a 3, as Rey Mysterio 1 second away came from becoming WWE Champion once again. But the Beast popped right back up, took Dominic to Suplex City, gave an F5 to Rey Mysterio on 1, 2, 3. ending the night. And I gotta say, you know, this was definitely the match that got everybody out of their seats because you believed it. I mean, if there was ever a night that you really thought that they were gonna go with Rey and tell that story of Rey getting his comeuppance and his revenge on Brock Lesnar and taking away his WWE Championship, you know, in a stage like this, you know what I mean? Survivor Series, you're in Chicago, all the story lines up. You got Dominic out there, and you hit your finisher move on him. I mean, it really was believable. And a guy like Rey, I mean, why not? He's a legend. He's not somebody that, you know, it wouldn't make any sense that really too soon. It's Rey. He's someone that they can give the belt, carry it for a month, and then Brock might get it back the next month. But good stuff here from both of these guys. Definitely the match of the night. Kudos to Rey Mysterio. But not to be left hanging, Rey Mysterio next night on Monday Night Raw, challenging AJ Styles for the United States Championship after winning a fatal four-way match with Randy, Drew McIntyre, and Ricochet all involved to become the number one contender. Rey Mysterio picks up the win here with the assistance of Randy Orton, who we'll get into that, but Rey Mysterio, one night, he suffers a loss, nearly becoming WWE Champion and defeating Brock Lesnar, which that right there is an accomplishment within itself. The next night becomes the United States Champion for a feel-good moment with his son, Dominic. Man, Rey Mysterio, 2 nights in a row that had that audience up on their feet and gave them best moments of the night. Definitely, you walked away feeling like Rey Mysterio match was probably the best match of the evening. And on to Randy Orton with the assistance on to Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles United States Championship match. Originally, the OC made their way out to the ring, which caused a distraction. AJ ran into the referee after getting hit with a 619. And then Randy comes out and makes the saves, does an RKO. And Rey Mysterio picks up the victory here. But Randy, I mean, really turning face, you know, kind of teasing this the last couple of weeks. He had that run-in with Ricochet where he's kind of mentoring him, but, you know, showing him tough love, you know, for being the gatekeeper of Monday Night Raw. But again, he never really turned on him. He kind of, you know, left it at that. I mean, remember that one night where he could have RKO'd Ricochet, but he decided not to. So again, showing shades of maybe of a babyface turn, and definitely last night coming out to assist Rey Mysterio, you know, very uncharacter-like of Randy Orton from recent memories, and for Randy to come out here and assist Rey Mysterio again, could it be that it's a you owe me one? It could be, because Randy Orton did put his hat into the United States Championship pool. But whatever it may be, the United States Championship is finally getting its much attention that it deserves. And on to the biggest highlight of Monday Night Raw, and that is Seth Rollins going full heel on the entire Raw roster to open up the show. He called out Charlotte, he called out AOP, he even called out Rey Mysterio and called Dominic, his stupid son, for not getting the job done the night before, and even calling out Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens that relying on him, giving him a hard time for teaming up with NXT, and where's this true alliance? Is it with Raw? Is it with NXT? Is he going to be a company man like Seth Rollins? And again, this all comes because Seth Rollins is getting a lot of flack from the WWE universe, and a lot of the blame he feels is falling on him for why the shows aren't great, why Raw wasn't successful at Survivor Series, why the rest of the roster isn't pulling their weight like he is. And I mean, you can feel for a guy like that it feels like he's giving it all and nobody else is giving it as much as he is. But again, he's trying to play up to the company. Now, we all know that through his Twitter rants over the summer and the way he responds to some questions in the media does come off like he is a shill for the company. And why wouldn't he be? He's shown no secret that he stands up for the company. He wants to be the face of the company and be the poster boy for the WWE, and he may very well be that. And if he wants that title, he can have it at this time. But he finds himself in a position where he seems to be the only man in the situation, but he looks for someone like Kevin Owens, someone else who is a veteran, comes from a familiar background like him, both coming from Ring of Honor, then going to NXT, and coming in and being very successful on the main roster. He looks for someone like Kevin Owens to help lead the pack of Raw superstars along with him. But the problem is that Kevin Owens, who we've known through this past year, is a little bit of someone who doesn't play by the rules, someone who doesn't follow authority, someone who is not too concerned with what the company wants, but what he wants, what the audience wants. And obviously, Kevin Owens calling out Seth Rollins for his mishaps throughout this year definitely let Seth Rollins know that he is not siding with him, that he's not going to do things his way. And this is a good storyline, and I think this is a perfect storyline for Kevin Owens, who has been lacking a top heel to work with, especially since Kevin Owens is supposed to be the second coming of Stone Cold Steve Austin. But that never really got off, going onto the right foot, especially with the Shane McMahon storyline. And then that thing never went anywhere. Kevin Owens being off of TV for weeks, pretty much all of October, we never really saw him. He was off of TV after being drafted over to Monday Night Raw. I mean, the last big highlight of Kevin Owens was the ladder match at the 20th anniversary and the premiere on Fox. But I mean, that's already been the beginning of October. And what has he really done since? And you're reminded by this storyline with Seth Rollins as being this snobby, stick up for the company. In his mind, he's thinking he's the babyface, but he's coming off as the biggest heel to everybody else. Meanwhile, Kevin Owens is this, non-establishment superstar who is not going to do things the way that the company wants. He's going to do things his way and is more relatable. And to Seth Rollins, in his eyes, he's thinking Kevin Owens is turning his back on everything that Seth Rollins stands for and everything that a WWE superstar should stand for. Kevin Owens is definitely the anti-authority, the anti-figure, and definitely a great opponent for this telling of Seth Rollins turning heel, because he's definitely turning on the fans, and the fans are definitely picking sides with Kevin Owens. I think this is definitely a great marriage into this. We've seen them work together in the past, but this is a new fold on this story. And it's now time to get to what to watch. And this week's what to watch is Stone Cold Sessions featuring The Undertaker. It was a great interview, guys, this weekend. I won't get on to it, but it's best that you guys listen to it. It was long awaited. I definitely enjoyed it. And now it's time to get to our performers and floppers of the week. This is where I give you guys my MVPs and floppers of the week. My MVP of the week, guys, I praise it all along this show, is Rey Mysterio. 2 nights in a row, guys, that he had that crowd on their feet. Unsuccessful against Brock Lesnar, but again, it's Brock Lesnar. Comes up with a big win and a great win and a great match with AJ Styles. I mean, talk about 2 guys that are legends in this business, for them to go out there and have a match. I hope it's not the last match, because I would love for Rey and AJ Styles to have a ladder match or a long program, because those are 2 legends. Think of Rey and Eddie, and you think of AJ Styles, who he's been compared to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels has been compared to Eddie. I mean, these guys all kind of walk along the same lines. Rey is a great opponent for those guys. So Rey Mysterio, my MVP of the week and flopper of the week, guys. If you heard the comments or the tweets, it's got to be Corey Graves over Mauro Ranallo over the weekend. Corey, just being a dick once again, finds himself in the floppers list. And that's going to do it for this week's episode, guys. Thank you so much for another episode of Speaking Wrestling. You can join me this Friday for episode 39, where we are speaking AEW Dynamite, NXT TakeOver, War Games, and of course NXT and NWA MLW talk as well. But don't forget to go on over to our YouTube page, look up Speaking Wrestling with Elvis Arroyo, hit subscribe, guys. Also follow me on Instagram at Speaking Wrestling and over on Twitter at Speaking Wrestle. Have a great week, guys. We'll do it again, episode 39. Bye-bye.